Here are the top things I would do to avoid the worst parts of flying so that your next flight, especially if it's long haul, is comfortable, anxiety-free, and feels shorter than it is. I'm going to cover everything you should pack and wear, as well as airport tips you may or may not know, and things like seat selection and how to minimize jet lag. First, let's start with the 12 things that I recommend you pack for your next flight. And these are all things that I personally use and have tested myself. Number 1 is this new style of travel pillow. I recently tried it on a couple of flights, and it is a complete game changer for sleeping on the plane. It's more of a head and neck stabilizer instead of a traditional pillow, but it's perfect if you're prone to the dreaded head bobbing. Here's how it works. You just attach the back part to the headrest on your seat, so the person behind you isn't affected at all. And then you Velcro on this eye mask part. So essentially your head and neck stays perfectly stabilized, and then you get to use this blackout eye mask. So no more neck kinks. I slept hard with this thing on, and honestly, the only reason I woke up was because I could start to hear the flight attendants kind of slamming the doors as they were preparing meal service. I would say it does take a little bit of getting used to because you're essentially just kind of strapped in, and you do feel a little bit of pulling as you're kind of just settling in and getting comfortable, but after a couple of minutes, you're in complete blackout, you're comfortable, you'll fall right asleep. Now, if you don't like this style of pillow, I still recommend bringing an eye mask to use. And this is for a couple of reasons. Number 1 is if you want some sleep, but your neighbor has the window shade up or their reading light is on. But the second reason is, I find it never fails that when the cabin is dark, someone around you is watching an action movie, and so their screen is 90 minutes of bright flashing light, so a blackout eye mask is a must. Along similar lines, I like bringing lightly shaded sunglasses. If a lot of people have their windows open, it can be really bright at 30,000 feet, so this really helps alleviate eye strain. Next is my foot hammock to elevate my feet on a long flight. It is so much more comfortable if you can do this. I've talked about this lots since I use it all the time. All you do is just slip it over the metal bars behind the tray table on the seat in front of you. You can adjust the length for depending how short or long your legs are, and as long as you're not swinging and kicking your feet, which you shouldn't be anyway, you'll just be resting them in the actual hammock part, the person in front of you will have no idea that you're using it. I think this is way less disruptive than kicking children behind you or people who are constantly grabbing your seat for leverage to help them stand up. I've never been asked to not use this. I've used this for probably 3 years now, but just know that you cannot use it during takeoff and landing. Noise-canceling headphones are a must, either over-the-ear or earbuds will do. I prefer the over-the-ear since they're more comfortable, but if I don't have a lot of room or weight allowance in my personal item bag, these little earbuds work perfectly fine. Just make sure they have the noise-canceling feature. This is pretty standard on most newer models of earphones and earbuds. Even if you don't plan to watch a movie or listen to music or an audiobook, that drone of the airplane noise is pretty exhausting after a while, so blocking out that really helps with minimizing fatigue. If you do bring your own wireless headphones, many planes still use the cord plugins, so you'll have to bring a Bluetooth adapter if you want to watch the in-seat entertainment. I'll link to the one that I use. I just got it off of Amazon. It's pretty small and really easy to use. And you can connect 2 sets of headphones to it, so you and your travel companion can watch the same movie together. My latest favorite travel gadget is this ultra slim charger. If you have a bulky phone charging block like mine, if you come across some well-used plugins, they get really loose and sometimes this brick won't stay in, especially on planes because sometimes the plug-in is at a bit of an angle. So this little guy is the size of a few credit cards put together, and then it's got 2 USB-C ports, so if there's only 2 chargers between 3 seats on the plane, it's not a big deal. And then it's great once you're in your destination. So sometimes when you're at the hotel, you'll find that the closest plug-in to the bed is actually behind the bed frame. So when you've got like a thick charging block that sticks out, it literally doesn't fit versus this little slim guy will fit perfectly fine. Or like on my recent trip to Cancun, the plug-in at the bedside table was so loose that my charger literally wouldn't stay in. I plugged it in and it would just fall right out of the wall. So we had to get books and the TV remote and just stack it up underneath so that it would stay held in. All right, now what type of clothing or outfit should you wear? This is really subjective, but the most important thing is that you want to be comfortable. And so for this, I recommend layers. Pretty much everyone will tell you that. So here is a standard flying outfit that I wear. I'll wear either these travel pants, which are loose and flowy, or black leggings, and then a t-shirt and a sweater with a hood. Now for the pants, I usually hover between the two choices, but it really depends. I usually like a tighter fitting legging because they just kind of keep everything snug, and for me that's more comfortable, but some days I'm not feeling it and I'll wear this style of pant. Either way, whatever bottoms you choose, make sure your pants don't drag, because at the end of a long flight, the bathroom floors just get so gross, like wet everywhere. So just make sure your pants aren't dragging on the ground. And then I like hoods so that I can be cozy and hide myself when I don't want to be bothered. So just make sure you have some sort of short sleeve underneath in case you do get hot. And ideally, a good thing to think about is either a sweater or a jacket that has deep zippered pockets. This is important if you're traveling solo and you want to get up to go to the bathroom. This way you can keep your valuables with you. Speaking of getting hot, a handheld fan can be a lifesaver if you're prone to getting hot on the plane. I used this on 2 different flights on my recent trip. The first time was because our connection through the Paris airport was super tight, so unfortunately we had to run to the gate. And so by the time we sat down, we were just sweating almost, since the air vents didn't get turned on until takeoff. It makes a world of a difference to have a few personal hygiene items with you. I like these little single-use toothbrushes. They have toothpaste in the middle and you don't need water or you don't need to rinse. They're so much more convenient than brushing your teeth in the lavatory. I also pack some body wipes and deodorant and use this when I just feel the need to be freshened up at any point during the flight. I also wear compression socks, usually on any flight over 4 hours. Not only do they help prevent or at least minimize swelling, which can be really uncomfortable, but they're also really important to help decrease the chance of developing blood clots as well. And one trick I like to do to also prevent swelling is to draw the alphabet with my legs when I'm sitting in my seat. This just helps you get a little more movement in. And staying hydrated is also really important for not feeling so tired and lifeless at the end of a flight. So either bring a refillable water bottle with you or buy one in the airport. I like Fiji water. It's expensive, but it does have electrolytes and minerals, and it's just something that I like. And also, having to go pee is good because it does force you to get up and move every so often. And finally, my little Vicks Vapo inhaler. It's no fun being stuck sitting next to someone who may or may not smell the freshest at times. So if that happens, I'll usually pull this out and breathe in a bit of minty freshness, and it also helps kind of wake you up too. Honestly, one of the worst parts about flying is going through security, particularly because you never know how busy or slow the lineup is going to be. So that's why I recommend that if you don't have TSA PreCheck or are flying internationally, check online to see if the airport you're flying out of offers some sort of express option where you can pre-book yourself a spot in the security line. So for example, at Toronto Pearson, this program is called YYZ Express, and it's completely free. You just book yourself a spot and you'll get a QR code to scan to enter a separate lineup. Now, some airports do charge a small fee for this service. Recently, I flew out of Lisbon in Portugal, and so I bought the Fast Track Pass for €9. To me, this was super worth it because we saved ourselves at least 20 or 25 minutes. To find out if the airport offers this, I would just Google the airport name plus something along the lines of Express Security Line or Fast Track or something similar. Not every airport will offer this, but it's definitely a growing trend, so you never know. Now, choosing where you sit on the plane can also make all the difference. First, we have the window or the aisle seat argument. This is really personal preference. If you like being able to get up to go to the bathroom whenever you want without having to disturb anyone, the aisle is going to be the place for you. But if you tend to stay seated and do your own thing, the window seat is best since you only have to move when you need to get up. However, there are big differences within the plane itself. For example, the bulkhead row in economy usually means there's the most legroom. This is usually the front row when there's no seat in front of you. But with this seat, you won't be able to store your personal item bag under the seat in front of you because there is no seat. So for takeoff and landing, you will have to have your bag stowed up above. Emergency exit row seats also have extra legroom, and some airlines allow you to board earlier if you're in this row because you do have to be briefed. If you're traveling as a pair in a wide-body plane where the middle row has 3 or 4 seats, you might want to consider the 2 end seats. Since this means a stranger won't have to ask you to get up to go to the restroom, they'll probably use the other side. If you're not sure which seat to choose, find a seat map for your aircraft. To do this, just head to flightaware.com and type in your flight number. The website seatguru.com isn't updated anymore, but it still might have some relevant information for your particular flight. I still like to check it just in case there's still valid information for my aircraft, because there are also usually comments left by other travelers on particular seats. Here's an extra tip to consider though. I also like to browse this for not just information on seat pitch and legroom, but also to see if there are any issues with overhead bin storage directly above the seat. For example, I searched a Boeing 787-9 WestJet flight, and I found this comment. Seats 1D, 1F, 2D, and 2F do not have overhead storage. The bins above them are reserved for aircraft equipment. So you must share overhead bin space with the window seats in rows 1 and 2. I'm also going to mention FlightAware again because it's also a great website to check the status of your flight, especially if you're on a connection. Sometimes the gate can change or doesn't get updated on the boards right away, and FlightAware is always up to date. So if you're sitting at the bar and you don't have a flight board in plain sight, you can keep an eye on this, and it's totally free. Now let's talk about jet lag. As far as how to beat jet lag, this is a tough one, but there are a few things that I do to minimize the effects. If it's an evening or overnight flight, I try to get up as early as possible on that day and do a decent amount of exercise to tire my body out. This will vary for everyone, but for example, for me personally, I'll do a heavy weightlifting session and then a nice long walk or get in as many steps as I can that day, so that by the time I'm on the plane, my body is physically tired and wants to go to sleep. If possible, I also try to not plan anything for the first day in my destination. So if you can give yourself a bit of a buffer day to just chill, that really helps. And if not, walking, getting sunshine, and staying hydrated will definitely make a difference. And finally, I always recommend traveling carry-on only if you can do it. I find this just saves you from all kinds of extra stress or anxiety. No need to wait in line to check your bag at the airport, and not having to worry about your luggage making it to your destination, especially if you have connecting flights. And if you're new to this idea, don't worry, I've got you covered because that's what my channel is all about. So I invite you to explore some of my other videos with practical tips about packing lighter. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.